Hi, friends. Welcome to season 2, episode 3 of Dysfunction Exposed. I'm Emma J, and today's episode, we're talking about more weird shit that happened to me. That's the best way I can put it. I feel like the more this goes on, the more I'm like, yeah, you're probably going to look at this and be like, what in the fresh fuck happened to this little girl? Well, here we are. This is Dysfunction Exposed. This is me. So, let's get right into it. I told you a story last week about me having to move around a lot as a kid. Now, not slowly, that's not the right word. No. Shortly after I had started the new primary school, after my nursery for school had closed down, me and my dad and brother were living in a property that was at the bottom of a hill in a nice little residential area. It was nice and quiet, close to local amenities. Probably sell for about 5 mil nowadays. It's fucking ridiculous. But this house, it was an old house, and there was wooden beams across the ceiling. I'm trying to paint this picture for you. So it was old, it was very wooden, very kind of Victorian kind of looking house, I guess. That's the best way to describe it. And whilst I was just starting this school, that house actually ended up being flooded because we were at the bottom of the hill. A sewage pipe had burst and taken pretty much the whole downstairs level of this house out. Everything got ruined. Absolutely everything. Now, as we know, I loved music, still love music. It is in my soul. And the only thing I was really attached to as a kid was my CDs and my Walkman. Now, or everything. When I say everything, every single CD, 90% of my childhood photographs, anything school report related, like at that point, gone. Every single memory I had was washed away in that flood. And then we moved house and started over again, as we did. And that was the norm. It was kind of norm to just move anyway. So I didn't really grasp how big that situation was as a child. I just saw the aftermath. And I remember smelling that putrid water smell, like stagnant water. I can't even begin to tell you what that smells like if you haven't smelled it. Like, you'll know when you smell it. But yeah, it ruined everything. And it wasn't until I got to an age and I was like, oh, I'd love to be able to look back at all my old things, because we like to do that as adults, don't we? We like to go back, bit of nostalgia. But I don't have that. And that's a weird one, because it's like other people will have photos and memories of me along the way, I'm pretty sure. But I don't have that. I have probably about 4 or 5 photos that I've taken photos of in my phone. But apart from that, I don't have any physical evidence that I actually kind of existed. I am definitely trying to get back to my prompt on my iPad, so please give me a second. Because we know I have a memory like a fish. If I didn't have prompts, I'd be absolutely buggered. So not having those little trinkets, you know, those little things you made when you were a kid and you took them home for your mum and dad, that you made shit with clay in school. All of it gone. There was one thing that I was really proud of, that I managed to save because it was on a windowsill. And, oh, this ruined me. So I'd saved a totem pole I'd made in school, and it had come to the next house with us. And at the next house, we decided to get a dog. Now, when it comes to training a dog, well, let's face it, we couldn't really train a child, so we're not going to be able to chase a dog. Train a dog, not chase a dog. We're not going to be able to train a dog. So this dog was unruly. And one day, it decided that it was going to have my totem pole that I'd put on another windowsill and chew it until it was nothing. And I remember that day because I just remember sitting at the bottom of the stairs just hysterically. Like, that was the last thing I had. And I was so upset about it. I don't think I got over that for a fair few weeks. Like, I couldn't look at the dog without being disgusted that he had ruined the last bit of evidence of my childhood I had left. Obviously, the hindsight wasn't there at the time, but I was still very upset. So yeah, that flood kind of changed things, I guess. And I think it was, yeah, that must have been pretty early when I started. It must have been year 1, year 2. But whilst I was also in year 1, year 2, if I wasn't being taken to other people's houses, dropped here, there and everywhere, given to whoever would have me, my dad would pick me up. On the rare occasion that he got off work early or whatever, he'd come and get me. And when I said last week it'd be nice just to get out of school and go home, well, yeah, even though my dad came to get me, we never went home. The first place we went was to the pub. Now, a lot of my upbringing was centred around this one pub. And it still stands, it's still there. When I drive past it, I think, there's so many memories I've had in that place, but it also caused a lot of issues for my life going forward. So because it was just me after school in the pub with my dad and all his mates, constantly surrounded by adults, taking in every adult conversation that I was around, be it appropriate or not, my dad would generally stick this Walkman on my head, put me in a corner with a bottle of Coke and a bag of crisp, and I'd be quite happy. And if not, I'd be running around talking to people in the pub. Like, everyone knew who I was because everyone knew who my dad was. He was in there constantly. So it was like I was the little adopted child of the pub, basically. And everyone kind of looked after me. That kind of situation. And because these are the environments my dad chose to put me in, I don't know, I think I was definitely exposed to far too much as a young child, because when it was his weekend or whatever, him and his mates would have house parties. But because my dad was semi-successful in this business, he had friends that were also quite successful, had lovely houses. Like, some of them had boats down in Wales that we'd go and spend time on. I'll tell you more about those stories a little later in the series. This whole pub family kind of was my thing. It was just my thing. So when he went up to go and have a beer with his mates at their houses, I'd go with him. Now, they've got the music on, they're all drinking. Hi, huge red flags. And they had a bar in their house. Now, as if it wasn't bad enough that I'm spending a lot of time in a pub surrounded by alcohol, that is obviously becoming almost normal in my brain because we're programmed to watch the people that raise us. That science, basic, done. Like, that's what we do. We follow who we are being taught by. So at that point in my life, drinking a lot and being very social, overly social, in fact, like every day in the pub, is that necessary? But yeah, being in that environment, I pulled my first pint. And it's kind of a happy memory for me because I'm like, oh, I pulled my first pint. But I was 9. I'm laughing because that is absolutely fucking absurd. And I can't imagine being with a 9-year-old now and being like, do you want to pull a pint? Because, sorry, what the fuck? Sorry, excuse me? But it was like, I think that's where it came out in my 20s, I think, because I was a huge party girl in my 20s. And again, I'll take you through all those stories. But drinking and being around alcohol and people who endorsed alcohol was so normal. So normal. And as I said, we can only do as much when we're kids as we are taught from those influences. So it's no surprise that when you grow up, you either go one of 2 ways. Because these are the only 2 options we've got. Either we follow suit, and because alcohol has been so normalised, we justify it to ourselves. This is fine. I don't have a problem. I'm drinking every day just to like break down my life a little bit. Or we go kind of teetotal. Now, I'm not a huge drinker anymore. And it's because I understand that habit could be very, very harmful to me. Because I know where it led me in my 20s. And it wasn't particularly pretty. I was using alcohol as a substance to numb myself. And I can still see when other people are doing that now. Be it alcohol, be it whatever substance. And it's sad. It's so sad that people are still stuck in that, well, this is normal. Is it? Is it? Do we really... We need to really start questioning the drink culture that we live amongst, because it isn't normal. The way people react when they're drinking isn't normal. Like, there's so many factors that come into being around alcohol as an adult if you've had experiences with it as a child. And I consider myself very lucky that I haven't become alcohol dependent, because that could have definitely been my situation. And fortunately enough for me, I chose the other way. But this is where accountability comes into play. Yes, I had a really weird, fucked up, unnormal, dysfunctional childhood. And a lot of people go, well, yeah, I've just got a lot of trauma. Well, yeah, here we are as adults. We need to deal with it. It has to be dealt with. Because if we don't do it and start to break these cycles back down, the next generation of kids is going to feel this. And that inherently worries me. As a human being on a level, like, as we know, I don't have kids. I look at my friends' kids and I think, what is the world going to be for them? What is this country going to be for them? And if it's being raised with those kind of attitudes and normalising that behaviour, the struggle's going to continue. We really have to change the level of awareness with alcohol, I think, because it's so readily available. people are like, oh yeah, well it's legal, it's cool. No, it's poison. It's essentially a bottle of poison. And we are ingesting that for fun. Okay, maybe we need to reconsider that. But anyway, that is all I'm going to give you for episode 3. So, my name is Emma J. This has been Dysfunction Exposed, and I will see you next week for season 2, episode 4 of my batshit life. Enjoy your week. I'll see you then.